Hello, and welcome to Anything History. Today we're in central Iowa, and it was near this very spot that a former Confederate guerrilla turned outlaw named Jesse James committed the first robbery of a moving train. The American West of the late 19th century occupies a unique place in terms of both history and folklore. It was a time of great expansion, lawlessness, and economic change, when railroads cut across the plains and towns sprouted up along their tracks. Yet with progress came conflict, and outlaws seized opportunities to defy authorities in ways that captured the imagination of the American public. Among these figures, none achieved greater notoriety than Jesse James. So for those unfamiliar with Jesse James, he was born in 1847 in Clay County, Missouri, into a family of Southern sympathizers. And when the Civil War broke out, Missouri being a border state, it was deeply divided between Union and Confederate factions. Jesse, along with his older brother Frank, joined the Confederate guerrilla units that waged a brutal campaign of irregular warfare. These groups were often referred to as bushwhackers and operated outside the formal Confederate Army, conducting raids, ambushes, and retaliatory strikes against Union forces and their sympathizers. The violence of the guerrilla warfare shaped Jesse James's life and his outlook. He fought alongside men like Bloody Bill Anderson, infamous for their ruthlessness. It was during these years that Jesse became accustomed to violence, surprise attack, and living outside the law. When the war ended in 1865, the James brothers did not lay down their arms. Instead, they carried their skills and bitterness into peacetime, forming the nucleus of what would become known as the James Younger Gang. By the early 1870s, banks had begun taking precautions against robbery, making them more difficult targets. At the same time, the rapid spread of railroads provided both opportunities and new symbols of wealth and power. Trains not only carried passengers, but also money, gold, and goods across vast distances, often lightly guarded. For the James Younger Gang, trains represented not only a lucrative prize, but also a way to strike against the advancing forces of industrialization. On the evening of July 21, 1873, the James Younger Gang executed their boldest plan yet, near the small town of Adair, Iowa. They selected a stretch of the Rock Island Line to stage their crime. So how did the James Gang commit this robbery? Well, it's a relatively simple plan. Pick an isolated spot on the track, and then you pry open one of the rails, and when the train comes along, it causes it to derail off the track. This loose section of track ensured that the locomotive derailed. When the train arrived, the engine toppled into a ditch, killing the engineer and severely wounding several others. In the chaos, the outlaws stormed the express car, demanding valuables. There had been rumors that as much as $75,000 in gold was loaded on the recently built main line of the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad. Instead, they took what they could, escaping with an estimated $3,000 in cash, coins, and valuables from both the express car and the passengers. Although they got away with a lot less than they had expected, the robbery made headlines across the country. Now the James Gang tried again the following year. In January, they successfully robbed a train in Gads Hill, Missouri, getting away with $12,000 in stolen goods. Now, of course, the first train robbery, most historians agree, was conducted by the Reno Brothers Gang in Seymour, Indiana in 1866. Now, although the Reno Brothers had robbed the first train, the Adair incident stood out for its boldness. This was the first time outlaws deliberately derailed a moving train to carry out a robbery in the American West. The crime shocked the nation and highlighted the vulnerability of railroads, which were considered vital to American expansionism. As newspapers picked up the story, Jesse James' name became known beyond the Midwest. These newspaper articles, dime store novels, and Wild West shows sensationalized Jesse James' exploits, often portraying him as both a ruthless criminal or as a daring rebel who defied powerful corporations. In rural communities, resentment towards railroads and banks often ran high. Some even admired James for striking at institutions they viewed as exploitive. The Adair train robbery in Iowa by the James Younger Gang was a watershed moment in the history of the American West. While the monetary gain was modest, the symbolic impact was more substantial. It marked the beginning of train robberies as a hallmark of the American West and propelled Jesse James into the national spotlight. Rooted in the violence of the Civil War and the tensions of post-war America, the robbery near Adair was not just an isolated act of banditry. It was a broader story of resistance, myth, and legend that continues to shape the way we remember the Wild West. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, you might enjoy a video on the largest meteorite found in North America, as well as more from our Lost Histories playlist.